People often tell you that nuts are a superfood, you should eat as many as possible. But here's the truth almost no one dares to say. After age 60, some nuts that seem harmless are silently damaging your body. They trigger chronic joint inflammation, cloud your memory, raise your blood pressure, and can even interfere with your medications. Sadly, most of my patients come to my clinic believing they're eating healthy foods. But their lab results and symptoms show the opposite. My name is Dr. Benjamin Hartwell, a men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping thousands of older patients across the U.S. My job isn't just prescribing medication, it's helping men regain energy, sharper memory, and confidence in the years they thought were behind them. I've seen incredible transformations sparked by small daily choices, especially something as simple as nuts. A few months ago, a 72-year-old man sat across from me, eyes filled with worry. He said, "Doctor, I eat carefully. I even replaced my snacks with nuts every day. So why am I getting more tired and losing my memory?" When I reviewed his tests, I saw liver stress, body-wide inflammation, and high blood pressure. Together we went over his diet, and the main culprit was the very nut he trusted most. He had no idea. And he's not alone. Millions of Americans over 60 are in the same situation. This wasn't an isolated case. But here's the good news. Not all nuts are harmful. In fact, the right ones can transform your health. The benefits are powerful: sharper thinking, stronger bones, steadier blood pressure and blood sugar, and a healthier heart. A large analysis of over 50,000 older Americans found that just a handful of the right nuts each day reduced the risk of dementia by 16%. This isn't magic, it's simple biology when you fuel your body with the nutrients it actually needs. And I want you to join me right now. If this message makes you rethink your choices, comment 1 below. If you're not convinced yet, comment 0 and tell me what you'd like me to explain further. I read every comment because my mission isn't just to speak, but to listen and to help you. In this video, I'll show you 4 nuts you should avoid and 4 you should make part of your daily routine. This isn't a quick tip. It's science-backed guidance proven in real patients I've worked with. And at the end, I'll give you a simple side-by-side chart. Eat this instead of that, so you'll know exactly what to do the next time you're at the grocery store. So, let's start with the first nut, the one that looks like the human brain, and truly is your memory's most loyal friend. There's a moment I'll never forget. One of my patients, Harold, a retired music teacher at 74, came to see me carrying both sadness and worry. He had recently lost his wife, and along with his grief, his memory seemed to collapse. He forgot his former students' names, misplaced his keys, and even once forgot the way home after a short walk. As we talked, he opened his kitchen cabinet and pulled out a small glass jar with just a few walnuts. He gave a weak smile and said, "I heard these are good for the brain. They even look like a brain, so I figured I'd try." His words sounded naive, but they were more accurate than he realized. Science has proven it. Walnuts are one of the strongest brain protective foods. They contain ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that strengthens nerve cell membranes and keeps signals firing smoothly. They're also packed with polyphenols, antioxidants that can cross the blood-brain barrier and fight inflammation, the silent culprit behind memory loss and Alzheimer's. And walnuts naturally contain melatonin, the sleep hormone that helps your body repair itself, something we lose more and more after age 60. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition showed that just 42 grams of walnuts a day for 8 weeks improved mental speed and flexibility in older adults. That's not just a lab result, it's a real difference. Remembering your grandchild's story, keeping up with your friends' jokes, or simply feeling like yourself again. For Harold, I recommended eating 7-9 walnut halves each day, storing them cold to keep the oils fresh, and not peeling off the thin, bitter skin. That's where the antioxidants are richest. 2 months later, He returned with a brighter smile. He told me, "Doctor, I'm not young again, but I've started to remember old songs, and I'm sleeping better at night." That's the power of one small habit. No miracle pills, just a few walnuts every single day. And if walnuts are memory's loyal friend, then the next nut is the unshakable shield for your bones and your brain. Some memories stay with me forever. My father was a simple man. Every morning he sat by the window with a cup of hot tea and a small bowl of almonds. I remember him saying, "These nuts keep me sharp." I used to laugh, thinking it was just an old man's routine. But when I became a doctor, I realized he was decades ahead of science. Because after 60, our bones start losing density quickly. One small fall can mean a fracture, and one fracture can mean months of recovery, or even a permanent change in quality of life. Almonds provide nearly 100 milligrams of calcium per ounce, but more importantly, they're rich in magnesium, the traffic controller that guides calcium into bones instead of arteries. That rare combination makes almonds the silent bodyguards of your skeleton. And that's not all. The thin brown almond skin contains flavonoids that work with vitamin E to neutralize free radicals in the brain, protecting neurons from oxidative stress, a major driver of dementia. A study from Tufts University found that older adults who ate almonds regularly had a slower rate of memory decline compared to those who didn't. What my father felt instinctively with his morning tea is now confirmed by science. I often tell my patients, eat 15, 20 almonds a day, plain, unsalted, and unsweetened. If your teeth are weak, soak them in warm water for a few hours to soften. And chew thoroughly, because good digestion begins in the mouth. Some of my patients, after keeping up this habit, have shared that they experience less constipation, feel lighter in spirit, and even walk with more stability. Almonds aren't just a snack. They're a small investment in confidence, walking with steadier steps, thinking more clearly, and keeping your digestion healthy. And if almonds are the unshakable shield for bones and the brain, then the next nut is the gatekeeper for blood pressure, vision, and blood sugar, three of the most silent yet haunting challenges of aging. When I was young, my grandfather kept an old wooden bowl on the tea table, always full of pistachios. Every afternoon, he would slowly crack the shells one by one, almost like a ritual. Back then, I thought it was just an old man's pastime. But as a doctor, I later realized he had unknowingly been doing one of the wisest things to protect his heart and blood sugar. Pistachios are among the richest nuts in potassium, about 285 milligrams in just 1 ounce, even more than a small banana. For those over 60, when blood vessels become less elastic and blood pressure swings more easily, that potassium acts like a natural pressure release valve, balancing sodium, easing the load on artery walls, and protecting the heart. On top of that, pistachios contain lutein and zeaxanthin, two carotenoids that accumulate in the retina and act like blue light filters, slowing the progression of macular degeneration, the eye disease that robs so many seniors of their colorful world. For patients with diabetes or prediabetes, pistachios are even more valuable. Thanks to their low glycemic index, high fiber, and protein content, they slow digestion and help prevent post-meal blood sugar spikes. A clinical study in middle-aged adults found that eating pistachios twice a day for 12 weeks significantly improved HbA1c levels and insulin sensitivity. That's not just numbers. It's the difference between feeling sluggish after a meal versus having steady energy all day long. I usually recommend about 1 ounce, or 49 pistachios, a day. Choose the ones still in the shell, since the act of shelling them slows you down, helps control portions, and turns snacking into a mindful, relaxing moment instead of rushed eating. For patients with arthritis in their hands, I suggest pre-split shells to make it easier. And whenever possible, choose unsalted or lightly salted pistachios. The nuts are naturally delicious without added flavoring. One of my 8-year-old patients once told me, "Doctor, I don't feel my heart racing anymore when I climb a few steps. All I did was swap my snacks for pistachios." That's proof that sometimes the smallest changes can bring the biggest results. If pistachios are the gatekeepers of blood pressure, vision, and blood sugar, then the next nut is the silent antioxidant treasure, often overlooked, but a powerful ally for the heart and healthy aging. One day, a 70-year-old woman came to my clinic carrying a small box. She opened it and smiled. "My daughter sent me these hazelnuts from Europe. I just eat them for fun. Do they actually do anything, doctor?" She didn't realize she was holding one of the most underrated nutritional treasures for her age. Hazelnuts are among the richest natural sources of vitamin E. Just a small handful supplies your body with enough antioxidants to protect cell membranes from free radicals, the silent attackers that accelerate aging and damage blood vessels and the brain. For older adults, vitamin E is especially important for maintaining short-term memory and lowering the risk of cognitive decline. But that's not all. Hazelnuts also contain manganese and polyphenols, compounds that reduce oxidative stress and improve blood lipids. A study in middle-aged and older adults found that eating hazelnuts for 16 weeks significantly lowered LDL cholesterol and improved insulin sensitivity, two crucial factors in preventing heart disease and type 2 diabetes. What I love about hazelnuts is how easy they are to add to your diet without feeling like medicine. You can enjoy about 20 a day, lightly roasted, mixed with unsweetened yogurt, or sprinkled over a salad. For patients with weaker teeth, I suggest grinding them or turning them into pure hazelnut butter. It's both tasty and easy to digest. And importantly, choose plain hazelnuts without added sugar or chocolate, since those extras cancel out their benefits. I still remember that woman's face. Her eyes lit up when she realized her daughter's gift wasn't just a thoughtful gesture, but also a natural daily medicine for her heart and brain. She said, "Then I'll make it a habit, not just a treat." Hazelnuts are like a hidden treasure. Once discovered, they can completely change the way your body resists aging. And now you've learned about the 4 nuts you should eat every day to nourish your brain, bones, heart, and blood sugar. But the story doesn't end here. Because there are still 4 other nuts, seemingly harmless, that are silently wearing down your body. And the first one is the chronic inflammation bomb that millions of Americans eat every single day. George, a 72-year-old veteran, walked into my clinic looking strong but with weary eyes. He proudly told me he kept up his exercise and daily walks. But lately, his knees had been aching, his blood pressure was higher, and he often complained, "I just don't have the strength I used to." When I asked about his diet, he answered confidently, "I don't eat junk, just roasted peanuts every day. They're cheap and full of protein." This is one of the biggest misconceptions I see in older patients. The truth is, peanuts aren't tree nuts. They're legumes, grown underground, and easily contaminated with mold that produces aflatoxin. This toxin has no smell or taste, but over time, it can damage the liver and raise the risk of liver cancer. Seniors, with weaker detox capacity, are especially vulnerable. And that's not all. Peanuts are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which, when out of balance with omega-3 fuel silent, chronic inflammation in the body. This type of inflammation isn't loud or obvious, but over the years, it contributes to joint pain, memory decline, and cardiovascular problems. To make matters worse, most peanuts on the market are roasted with salt or mixed with hydrogenated oils, which raise blood pressure and harden arteries even faster. A study published in Food and Chemical Toxicology found that aflatoxin can cause gene mutations and promote liver cancer, especially in older adults with impaired liver function. That's why I often advise elderly patients to avoid peanuts, even though they may have been a familiar snack in their younger years. I usually tell my patients, if you still want that crunchy texture, Replace peanuts with pistachios or almonds. Not only are they safer, but they actually nourish your health instead of quietly harming it. George followed this advice. Just a few months later, he reported that his knee pain had eased, his blood pressure was easier to control, and he could walk in the park with his grandson without getting winded. A simple change, but one that made a big difference. Peanuts are a chronic inflammation bomb most people don't see coming. And if peanuts can harm you from the inside, the next nut is even more dangerous for older adults with diabetes or kidney stones. It's the sweet trap called cashews. Linda, 70, was a sweet grandmother I'll never forget. She loved cooking for her grandkids and often carried healthy granola bars from the supermarket in her purse. When she came to see me, she complained of fatigue, bloating, and fluctuating blood sugar. Her tests showed a clear rise in HbA1c, even though she insisted, "Doctor, I don't eat candy. I only eat cashews. Everyone says they're good for me." This is exactly the trap many older adults fall into. Cashews are much higher in carbohydrates than other nuts, about 9 grams of carbs per ounce, 28 grams. For people over 60, especially those with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, that carb load can spike blood sugar quickly after meals. The dangerous part is you don't notice it right away, until fatigue, dizziness, or lab results sound the alarm. On top of that, cashews are rich in oxalates, which can bind with calcium and form kidney stones. This is serious because kidney stones aren't just painful, they tend to recur, and in elderly patients, they can lead to dangerous complications if untreated. When I explained this to Linda, she finally realized those healthy granola bars were packed with cashews and hidden sugars, silently wrecking her health. Cashews are also commonly turned into nut butter or nut milk, which sound healthy, but often contain added sugar or saturated fats, making things worse. For older adults with swallowing difficulties, cashews pose another risk. Their curved, slippery shape makes them easy to choke on. So I always remind patients, if you want that creamy, rich texture from nuts, go for almonds or walnuts instead of cashews. They not only provide healthy fats, but are also much safer for blood sugar and kidneys. Linda switched, and just a few months later, she came back smiling, saying her blood sugar had stabilized, her digestion felt lighter, and she had more energy to enjoy the park with her grandkids every afternoon. Cashews may look healthy, but they're really a sweet trap for people over 60. And if cashews quietly damage your kidneys and blood sugar, the next nut sabotages you in another way, by piling on weight little by little. That's macadamia, the silent weight gain culprit. I clearly remember Robert, a 69-year-old patient with a sturdy build, who was always proud of keeping his weight under control. But during a checkup, he sighed. "Doctor, I don't understand. My clothes feel tighter, but I'm not eating more. The only indulgence I allow myself is macadamia nuts. They're expensive, so I thought they must be healthy." He had no idea that this luxury treat was quietly making him gain weight. Macadamias actually have the highest calories and fat content of all common nuts. Just a small handful, 28 grams, packs nearly 200 calories and over 21 grams of fat. For older adults, whose metabolism has slowed, the body no longer burns energy as efficiently. The excess calories quickly turn into belly fat and visceral fat, two dangerous culprits behind type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and fatty liver. What's worse, most macadamias on the market are roasted with salt, coated in honey, or covered in chocolate, making them even higher in sugar and sodium. For an older adult, just a few handfuls a day can equal the calories of a full meal, without the lasting satiety you'd get from lean protein or vegetables. That's why many of my patients, like Robert, never realized their creeping weight gain came from this supposedly healthy nut. I always explain, if you want heart, healthy fats, without the weight gain, choose walnuts or hazelnuts. They're still rich in omega-3 seconds, vitamin E, and antioxidants, but with far more reasonable calorie counts. For Robert, simply swapping macadamias for a handful of walnuts and adding daily evening walks brought his weight back to normal within a few months, and he felt much lighter and more energetic. Macadamias are sweet and creamy, but for people over 60, they're like a hidden scale silently tipping upward. And if macadamias sneakily make you gain weight, the next nut can rob you of the joy of eating altogether by leaving a strange metallic taste in your mouth. That nut is pine nuts. One of my patients, Margaret, 66, came in looking puzzled. She said, "Doctor, I don't know if it's just aging, but lately everything I eat tastes metallic, even plain water." At first, she feared it was a neurological problem, but when I asked about her diet, we discovered the real culprit, pine nuts, which she sprinkled on her salad every day. This phenomenon, known as pine mouth, is documented in medical literature. Just a few days after eating pine nuts, some people develop a metallic or bitter taste that lingers for weeks, turning eating into an unpleasant chore. For older adults, this is especially concerning because it can lead to appetite loss, weight loss, and frailty. And it doesn't stop there. Pine nuts contain oils that oxidize easily. If stored improperly, they spoil quickly, producing inflammatory compounds that can stress the liver. Pine nuts may also interact with certain heart and blood pressure medications, forcing the liver to work overtime to metabolize them, reducing drug effectiveness or triggering side effects. Few people expect this, since pine nuts are often promoted as a luxury topping in Mediterranean dishes. I often tell my patients, if you want to add a rich, nutty flavor to your salad or pasta, go with roasted hazelnuts or chopped walnuts instead of pine nuts. Not only are they safer, but they also add vitamin E and omega-3 seconds for heart and brain health. For Mrs. Margaret, simply removing pine nuts and replacing them with walnuts brought her taste buds back to normal within a few weeks, and mealtime became a joy again instead of a worry. Pine nuts may seem fancy, but for anyone over 60, they're more like taste bud and medication wreckers, not worth the risk. And now you've seen the big picture. 4 nuts to avoid, and 4 nuts to make your daily allies. To make this easy to remember and put into practice, I've prepared a simple side-by-side chart, Eat This Instead of That, a tool you can start using as soon as tomorrow. I know today's video packed in a lot of information. And if you're wondering, so what exactly should I buy, or avoid, at the store tomorrow? Here's the simplest answer. Remember the formula, eat this instead of that. Swap peanuts, the chronic inflammation bomb. Dole for pistachios, the gatekeeper of blood pressure and blood sugar. Swap cashews, the carb trap and kidney stone trigger. Chold for almonds, the sturdy shield for your bones and brain. Swap macadamias, the silent weight gainer. Chold for walnuts, your loyal friend of memory. Swap pine nuts, the taste bud and medication wrecker. Toll for hazelnuts, the quiet antioxidant treasure. Just by swapping items in your cart, your health can head in a completely different direction. No prescriptions, no extra cost, just the right fuel for your body, every day. I've had many patients return after just a few months, with brighter eyes, clearer minds, and renewed joy in life, all from applying this simple principle. Now, I want to hear from you. Which nut will you start with first? Leave a comment below, because writing it down is the first step from knowledge to action. And I promise I'll read every single comment, because this isn't just a video, it's a conversation between us. When you cross into your 60 seconds, your body isn't quite the same. Yes, bones may grow more fragile, memory may slow, and the heart may tire more easily. But that doesn't mean you're powerless. I've walked alongside thousands of patients over 3 decades, and I can tell you this with complete sincerity. Your health is still in your hands, even as the years go by. Every handful of nuts you choose, Every habit you keep is like a brick in building a strong foundation for your later years. And you absolutely can build it with strength instead of cracks caused by silent mistakes. Start simple. Don't try to change everything overnight. Maybe swap peanuts for pistachios in your afternoon snack today. Or switch cashews for almonds in tomorrow's granola jar. It's the small, repeated changes that create the biggest difference, and I've seen it happen too many times to doubt it. And now, I want you to act. If you agree it's time to change and live healthier after 60, comment 1 below. If you're hesitant, not quite ready, comment 0 and tell me what worries you most. I'm Dr. Benjamin Hartwell, and my mission is to help you not just live longer, but live healthier and happier. Remember, aging doesn't take everything away. It simply requires wiser choices. And I believe you can make them.